Here we go. Or no. Okay. Share. Hello. Testing. Be good. Hello. Start momentarily. Or I'll be starting momentarily. Wait, what an episode we got today. Alright. Gonna start very soon. Just give some time for people to come in. Few seconds and we will start. All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back for episode 12 of the Benny in the Booth podcast. Boy, what a week we've got to recap in sports from NFL Week 15, where we had games that got shifted in when they got played. We had craziness in the games themselves. NFL Week 16 predictions. Could sports be going to a lane? Could we be seeing 2020 in sports all over again? What exactly do I mean by that and more? Let's get into it. What's up, everybody? Welcome back for episode 12 of Benny and the Booth podcast. Thank you so much for the support to this point. The reason I had to push off this episode coming out was because games literally got postponed to Tuesday, and I wanted to wait to be able to cover those in this episode and not the next. So I waited. So I wanted to wait till Thursday. Plus, after the Browns game, we'll get into that in this podcast. Trust me, you'll be. It's a good thing I didn't do it on Tuesday. This Browns game was tough to accept. The day after. Let's just put it at that, and we'll leave it at that. But anyways, let's get into this. NFL Week 15. Still Thursday Night Football is on the... Well, I guess let's start with this. The 3 games that got postponed because of COVID, because of, well, you know what issues, is the Browns-Raiders game got postponed to Monday at 5. The Seahawks, Rams, and football team and Eagles games both got postponed from Sunday to Tuesday, both ending up at 7 p.m. So let's get into it. Thursday Night Football, the Chiefs and the Chargers. This was actually a back and forth game. Chargers having leads a lot of this game, and it looked like they were going to have a good chance to win. But Kansas City fought their way back, able to pull off, tie the game, send it to overtime, and win on a go-ahead game-winning touchdown to Travis Kelce in overtime to beat the Chargers 34-28. Next up, Colts and Patriots. This was all Jonathan Taylor. He dominated the Patriots. They had no answers for him. He started to make a comeback a bit towards the end, but Taylor ran a 60-something yard touchdown to ice the cake, and then the Patriots winning streak and basically keep the Bills and basically elevate the Bills' big chance to still win the division with their matchup against the Patriots this week. But anyways, Colts win 27-17. Next up, Giants hosting the Cowboys. This was a bad... The Giants were just trash in this game. It was all Dallas, except for their kicker, Greg Zuerlein, missing 2 extra points in this game. But didn't come back to bite them really because they ended up winning 21-6. Next up, Jaguars hosting the Texans. Jaguars now being free without Urban Meyer. They put up an absolute stinker against Houston, including a kick return touchdown, losing 30-16. Next up, Titans at Steelers. The Titans were up big, and it looked like they were would win this game. But first of all, they stepped all over the Steelers logo before the game, and that was their downfall already. And they just blew it. They choked in the second half. Fumbles, turnovers, and the Steelers absolutely took advantage to coming back and win 19-13 and keep their playoff hopes still alive with them having a big game this week, and we'll get into that later. Dolphins at Jets. The Jets were actually winning at certain points of this game, but the Dolphins came back and ended up holding on to barely win this game, 31-24 over the Jets. Next up, Lions at Cardinals. You'd think the Cardinals would easily have this game, but the Lions said, not so fast. Whooping the Cardinals. Kyler Murray putting up an absolute stinker. And now you start to wonder, is this just going to be 2020 end of the season for the Cardinals all over again, as in they choke and don't make the playoffs? But either way, they lose to Detroit. Detroit winning for the second time this year, 30-12. Next up, Buffalo, Carolina. This is all Buffalo. I mean, the score was a bit close in the end, but This was all Buffalo. Cam Newton sucked. Colts just didn't play well. This was all Bills as they beat the Panthers 31-14. Next up, Bengals the Broncos. This was a bit of a back and forth game, but sad news came on to the Broncos during the game. Teddy Bridgewater had to leave, was taken to the hospital. He has a concussion, I believe, at this point. And that was just where they hit rock bottom, having to throw in Drew Lock, and nothing went right from there. They were able to put up a fight, but it was in the end the Bengals ended up winning 15-10. Next up, San Francisco, Atlanta. This was all San Francisco, not much more to say about this. 31-13. Next up, Packers at Ravens. The Ravens had leads twice, but then the Packers started to get a bit of a lead, and it looked like they would maybe win this game. But then the Ravens were able to put up 2 touchdowns, except once again, for the second time this year, instead of going for the Justin Tucker extra point to tie to send to overtime, they elected to go for 2. And this time it was great defensive stop, not through his hands, literally just a batted pass, incomplete. Packers won 31-30. And I'm just wondering what's going through Harbaugh's mind and his trust with Justin Tucker when Justin Tucker is the best kicker in the NFL. And one of, if not the best ever. And I'm just like head scratching at this decision. Yeah, you have defensive injuries, and yeah, it could be you would have lost in overtime in either, but like you have the best kicker in the NFL. You have the most accurate kicker. He could easily send it to overtime. He hardly, and I say hardly, not never because he has missed, he hardly ever misses kicks. And yet you elect to go for 2 twice in a year where you could have easily sent it to overtime and fail both. So I'm just wondering what's going through Harbaugh's head right now. But yeah, anyways, Packers win 31-30. Next up, Saints at the Buccaneers. Sunday Night Football. This was a complete shutout of the Buccaneers at home, as the Saints, with Brady being on the Buccaneers, are undefeated against the Buccaneers, winning this game 9-0. Brady having a bad game and even broke a tablet on the sidelines during the game. Browns Raiders. This game, I had a range of emotions too much. I wouldn't have been able to cover this the day after. Raiders jumped out early to 13-0 lead, though it could have been 13-3 had Chase McLaughlin not missed a field goal before halftime. Browns ended up getting 2 touchdowns to go up 16-13, 14-13. Getting a touchdown from Chubb and a passing touchdown from Nick Mullins, filling in for Baker Mayfield to Harrison Bryant. Nick Mullins actually had a pretty good game for third-string quarterback. Nick Chubb had a great game. Offense played well, and the defense played well. And then the Raiders get the ball after the touchdown, and Carr throws a deep ball that gets picked off. And I'm thinking, okay, game over. We just got to run out the clock, get a first down, and game over. Too conservative with running it 3 times. Don't get it, so we had to get a stop. But the good news was Raiders didn't have any timeouts. Didn't help. Raiders drove down, got a game-winning field goal to win 16-14. And it's not just the fact that it was a game winner. It's that if Chase McLaughlin would have made that field goal, it would have been 17-13, and they would have had to go with a touchdown with 3 seconds left. That's how much time they had left with the whole field goal. 3 seconds. And you know what biggest surprise of it is to me? Not just did they punt Jamie Gillian, who's been on the COVID list the last 2 weeks, and just go with the punter that they've had in replacement. Not just that, but Kevin Stefanski, the head coach of the Cleveland Browns, who was out last week with COVID, but will be back this week, came out and said, we're not cutting McLaughlin. He's our kicker for the rest of the year. I literally just said, why? Tell me why. He literally cost the Browns that game. He makes that kick. The Browns could have very much won that game. I'm just spinning my head. Now, I'm not going to say fire Stefanski because he's been one of, if not the best head coach since the Browns moved back from Baltimore. But what in the world? I don't know. Maybe people can explain it to me in the comments or the live chat, but I'm just head spinning. I don't know. Next up, Vikings at the Bears. Vikings pretty much easily won this game 17-9. And there's a stat that I'm going to tell you about this game, and this will tell you all you need to know from this game. A few stats. In this game, Bears miscues. I got the stat directly from the highlights for Monday Night Football of this game. 3 turnovers, 3 fumbles lost, including a muff punt, 8 penalties, and blocked field goal. All by one team. One team. If that doesn't explain what happened in the Bears game, I don't know what does. But either way, Vikings win 17-9. And Bears with that, the Bears are eliminated from the playoffs. Hold on 1 second here. So that goes their playoff chances. Tuesday games, we had the Seahawks and the Rams back and forth, but in the end, the Rams were able to pull off a win and force the Seahawks to have their first losing season since basically before Russell Wilson came. 20-10, Rams won. Football team and Eagles, Garrett Gilbert starting for Washington as they couldn't get any of their other quarterbacks to be able to play because of COVID. Or I should say, well, you know what. I mean, I always have to remember you can't say that, you know what, the actual word on YouTube because it will cause issues with the algorithm and demonetization and stuff. But anyways, he got off to a good start, and especially with the fact that the Eagles, the football team, literally had to pick off the guy's back of his foot. Literally the back of his foot. Off the foot into the hands of the defender for an interception. But in the end, the Eagles were able to pull out a win, completely taking over the game from there, winning 27-17. And that's week 15. The updated standings. This time I am doing the conference standings since we are basically in that stretch. Just to update the teams I will not be mentioning records of because they are not in playoff race. I'm only going to be saying the teams are in the playoff race. But the teams that are officially eliminated is Jacksonville, Detroit, Houston, the Jets, and the Bears. AFC standings, the top seed is the Chiefs at 10-4, followed by a tie for second between the 9-5 Patriots and the 9-5 Titans, followed by a multiple-way tie for the 4th spot. Though, I mean, I guess really the 4th spot goes to the Bengals. It's more of a tie for 5th because the 4th spot's automatically division winner. I'm realizing that. It's stupid on my part. But Bengals have the 4 being the top of the AFC North. Browns sadly now dead last instead of the division leader. Multiple way tie at 8-6. Multiple way tie at 8-6 for the 5th spot between the Colts, Chargers, Bills, and Ravens. The 9th spot is the Steelers at 7-6-1, and then everyone else is in a tie at 7-7 between the Raiders, the Dolphins, the Browns, and the Broncos. And the NFC, the only team that has clinched a conference, not the only team that's clinched a playoff spot, is the Packers with their win. They clinched the NFC North as they are up top at 11, and I think they're 11. I don't know why I didn't get their record down, but they're like, I think 11-3 or something like that. But either way, yeah, 11-3. Followed by a multiple-way tie for second between the Cowboys, the Buccaneers, the Cardinals, and the Cardinals, who are all 10-4. 5th spot is the Rams at 10-4. 6th spot is the Niners at 8-6. Followed by a multiple-way tie for 7th spot at 7-7. Followed by the 6-8 football team at the 10th spot, tied with the Falcons as well for 10 at 6-8. And then tied for the 12th spot at 5-9 between the Panthers and the Seahawks. And then the 14th spot being the Giants. That's the conference standings with the teams that are still not officially eliminated. In predictions this week, I went 9-7, pretty good. And overall, with the podcast, I'm 91, 55, and 1. So let's get into this week's predictions. Week 16, tonight's game. We got the San Francisco 49ers at the Tennessee Titans. This game could be interesting. This game will be interesting. One to look out for. I have the 49ers, though. Saturday, which is also Christmas. Well, that's weird. Anyways, we have two games. One being the Browns and the Packers, and one being the Colts at the Cardinals. First up, we have the Browns and the Packers. Now, I'm going to be honest here. My pick is the Packers. I don't think the Browns are going to be able to win this game. A big part of that is the fact that Aaron Rodgers literally gets one touchdown. He breaks the Packers' the most passing touchdowns in a season by a Packer. If he even just gets one. And they're down Marquez Valdes-Scantling and a bunch of other people, but I don't think the Browns will be able to beat them. The only way I think they could beat them is basically a shutout, and I don't think that's happening. So I do have Packers. The second Saturday game, Colts and Cardinals. This is going to be an interesting game. This will be an interesting game, especially with Jonathan Taylor. I do think, though, this is going to be the Cardinals' bounce back. It will definitely be tougher, but I think they will bounce back this week. Sunday, Falcons hosting the Lions. I have the Falcons. Ravens at Bengals. I have Ravens. Rams at Vikings. I have Rams. Bills at Patriots. I have Bills. Jaguars at Jets. I have Jets. Giants at Eagles. I have Eagles. Buccaneers at Panthers. I have Buccaneers. Chargers at Texans. I have Chargers. Bears at Seahawks. I have Seahawks. Steelers at Kansas City, which is the more interesting part about this game is the fact that there's no Travis Kelce. There's no Tyreek Hill. They don't have their kicker and another defensive guy, which is huge advantage for Pittsburgh. But I still think Kansas City will have enough, especially with still having Mahomes, to win this game. So I do pick Kansas City. Denver at Vegas. I have Vegas. Sunday Night Football between football team and the Cowboys. If Cowboys win, they win the division. And I do think they do that on Sunday Night Football. And then Monday night is Dolphins at Saints. I have Saints. And that is NFL Week 16 predictions. Oh, boy. This next topic is more of an interesting, and I want to hear from chat, and I want to hear from the comments. And I'm going to put my input. But recently, between the NFL, NBA, and MLB, and not MLB, NFL, NBA, and I don't cover the sport, but NHL, games have been postponed, canceled. Every league is in a mess right now. The NFL is over 150 on the COVID IL. The NBA's in its own mess. Literally, both have had 3 canceled games in the last 2 weeks. NHL, they've already had some fanless games in Canada. It's crazy. And my question is, do you think that we could be reaching a point where they decide that maybe we go back to no fans? And I want to hear your input. My input, unless we get to craziness of 2020, which I don't think we are, especially with people being vaccinated, I don't think we are. It could go down to limited capacity, and I think that's more realistic. But I don't think we're going to get to the magnitude, again, of no fans in the stadium at games, at least for now. We'll see, especially with the new variant and stuff. But at this point, you just got to hope for the best. That's my input, and that's it for this episode of the podcast. Let's wrap this up. Thank you for coming back for this week's episode of the podcast for episode 12. Next week, episode 13, we'll have NFL Week 16 to recap and go into NFL Week 17. Whose playoff hopes will still be alive and whose won't. We'll get into previewing the college football playoff semifinal games and the Ohio State game because those are next week. And more. Maybe we'll have even more stuff to talk about in general with sports. Thanks for watching. If you are new, subscribe to the channel. Help get to the goal of 75 to 100 subscribers by New Year's, so I can do a Q&A for people after into 2020, beginning of mid 2022. For the channel, I'm also thinking of doing another award. Not sure what yet. But subscribe if you're new. Leave a notification bell on so you're notified when I go live. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next week. Bye.